right, welcome back. Look, we got a new addition to the garage here. That's a model I did up. It came from an old friend's collection that came from his father, who used to fly Banshees off the deck of the Bonaventure way back in the 1950s and 60s. Anyway, the man is still alive, so I did that model up in Canadian colors for him. So anyway, that's not why we're here. We're here to work on the Triumph. I've started putting things back together. I got the new pistons on there, new rings, everything's all gapped properly and everything. I've got my compressor bands on there. I like to hold those on with zip ties because I find the zip tie provides just the right amount of pressure to keep the rings compressed when you put the cylinders on, but not so much pressure that the bands actually grip the pistons. Usually what happens when I go to put a cylinder on these, it just goes right down over the whole lot, and I don't usually have any problems at all. We'll see if it makes a liar out of me this time. Anyway, I usually put not usually, I always put a couple of rods under the piston like that to keep them from flopping around when I'm putting the cylinders down over. So now I'm going to get the cylinders. They're all oiled up and ready to go, so hopefully they'll go on without too much trouble. Let's see what happens. Okay, there's the cylinders. I'll go around the other side. Hopefully you folks can see what's going on here when they go to offer these up to the pistons. Cross your fingers for me, because I'm crossing my fingers, my toes, my eyes, and everything else. If any luck, these barrels ought to slide right down over there without the slightest issue. Ready? Perfect. That's the way it's supposed to go, folks. Now all I got to do is cut those zip ties off, remove the bands, and lower those cylinders down in place. Okay, we've got the cylinder down and fastened to the crankcase. All those flange nuts are nice and tight now. Oh yes, taking off the little O-rings that I've been holding those tappet guide blocks in place with, or holding the tappets in place in the guide block to keep them from falling out while I was working on it. I'll get the front one out of there as well. Okay, there they are. I can put them back in the box because I really didn't put them through much use. All they were doing was just kind of wrapped around the tips of the tappets. Set them in there in the timing cover for now. Anyways, let's roll this engine over, see what happens. There we go. Kick gear made a little noise here. Well, the pistons are going up and down there nice and smoothly. Let's get them up to the top of the board just to keep any dirt and dust from going down in the cylinders. Yep. Now I'm ready to start fitting the push rod tubes. I like to have, when I have the gasket on the top here, I like to have about a 1/16 of an inch of compression on those rubbers on the push rod tubes, so that I know I'm getting enough compression that the push rod tubes are going to seal. It's not hard to tell I don't work from a script, because I'm fumbling for words all the time. Anyways, yeah, we're ready to start doing that. Get ready to put the head on, but this is a good bit of progress, getting the cylinder on, the rings on, the pistons in, so we'll carry on from here. And there we go, cylinder head's in place and all torqued down. On this particular unit, that's a Route overbore, not overbore, it's a Route 750 kit that's in it, and the center bolt is only 1/4 inch, so you have to be careful with that one. This one I machined like, I don't know, 15 years ago. It's a 5/16 shoulder bolt, but it's stepped down to 1/4 inch so it can fit into that cylinder head. That one I've put about 11 foot-pounds of torque on. I really wouldn't want to put one bit more torque on that. I'm afraid it might break off, and you'd have to take cylinder head off again and all that stuff. So anyway, everything else is torqued down as per specs in the book. It's down to, actually I put them down at 19 foot-pounds instead of the recommended 18, but 1 foot-pound extra isn't going to hurt anything. And of course the head gasket was annealed, a brand new head gasket by the way, but I always anneal them the new ones, you get them, they're not annealed. You have to anneal them anyway, just like you do the old ones. But I certainly wouldn't have had any problem using that old head gasket again. Like you can reuse a head gasket over and over and over again as long as you anneal it. But especially like I'm talking about the copper ones here, of course. But anyway, you know, a little bit tricky, like I said, about the push rod tubes. I like to have about a 1/16 of an inch of squish on those seals when I put an engine together. Any more than that, and I get kind of nervous because you can actually start tearing the rubber, and eventually they'll start to leak if you tear them. But you just want to squeeze them enough so they're going to seal. And what's next? Oh yeah, I wanted to mention, this always reminds me of playing with the kids building things out of Lego, especially when you're doing the top ends of these engines, because it's like you put one block on here, and then another block on here, and then another block on here, and another block on here, and eventually you wind up with an engine. So I kind of like to call these Triumph top ends the Lego kits. But anyway, it's fun. I'll get her together and get those rocker boxes on next. And there we are, just like building Legos. You put the push rod tubes in there, you plop the rocker boxes on top, and you bolt them down. And that's it for the engine. Just the ancillaries now. I got to get the carburetor bolted on there and that sort of thing. Of course, I got to adjust the valve lash and anything that you would normally have to do after putting an engine together. The head steady has to go back on there. But that's pretty good progress for today. I think I'll go have a cup of tea. Okay, I've got back at this thing again this morning. I just finished putting the exhaust pipes on there. Yesterday I set the valves. I added about a 1/4 cup of oil in there so the scavenge pump will have something to do when the engine starts. And of course the carburetor's bolted back on. What else? Oh yes, this morning I decided, while I was checking the other fluid levels, that I better take the battery out of there and check it, because I know he's never had that out. And sure enough, it's you can see the level is way down there as far as the fluid goes. So I'm going to top that fluid level up. Let's see now. That battery was new on April 30th, 2021. If you take care of these batteries, take them out of the bike in the wintertime. Don't leave them in the bike. Take them out. Charge them up about once a month. Personally, I don't like battery tenders because they don't let the batteries cycle up and down. They just constantly keep them charged. But that's better than not doing anything with them. But you still have to take these old style lead acid batteries out here and make sure the fluid levels are correct in them. They're not like the AGM batteries. You don't ever need to check the fluid levels in an AGM battery, but these ones you do if you want them to last. And I've got 8 years out of one of these batteries before, and you know, there's no reason why anybody else can't. Okay, got the old girl all back together. This is going to be the first start. This is an actual first start, not a pretend one. So I don't know what it's going to do, but I'm hoping that it will start up real easy like it always did. I can't imagine why it wouldn't. So we'll prime the carburetor, put the choke on, turn on the key, and let's see what happens. Oh, interesting sound there. Off and see what happens. Well, I know one thing. The oil pump's working because the light went out when I was kicking it. Anyway, this start should have lit right up. Get a little bit more fuel. hooked back on. I seem to be interested in that. So. I wonder. Okay, I gotta see what's going on here. It's probably something real simple. I might have even got the coils switched around the wrong way when I was hooking up the points again. Okay, let's give this another shot. Well, better let her down. I don't like climbing up. I had enough climbing up on the Kickstarter. Okay, what happened was I had the two wires that go to the ignition points. I had them switched around backwards. So the plugs were firing on the top of the crossover stroke instead of the top of the firing stroke. So that's not the first time I've done that. So anyway, let's try this again. Another little tickle there. Oh, turn the fuel on first. There we go. All right. Choke is on. Let's see what happens this time. Bring that idle speed up a little more. Let her warm up there a little bit. It didn't even make any smoke when I started it up. At least I don't think it did. I did put quite a few squirts of oil down the cylinders before I started it up, just to make sure. Yeah, anyway. Well, I guess the next thing to do now will be to get this out on the road and give it a road test. See how that works. God, that lift is rattly. There. Doesn't sound quite so much like a Vegas Spanish now. Anyway, let's get her on the road and see what happens. Well, test drive. Didn't work out quite as good as I was hoping it would. Anyways, the bike started up perfect. Took her down the road, took her up the road, took her down the Terrence Bay Road, up and down Powers Road a few times. I guess I'll probably put about 6 kilometers on it, and I felt so confident with it that I thought I'd go up the road, about 5 kilometers up the road and come back. Anyways, bike worked great all the way up there, and turned around about halfway back. I looked down at that oil light, and there was this angry little red glow there, and I said, oh, is that the reflection of the sun, or is that actually on? So anyway, I put my hand down over the light, and sure enough, it was actually on. So I reached down, shut the bike off, coasted to the side of the road. Anyway, I was pretty lucky about where this happened, because I was on the top of the hill from my place, so I only had to push the bike about a half a kilometer, and most of that had a slight downhill grade anyway, so it was a pretty easy push. And then when I got to the top of the hill, I just threw a leg over the bike and coasted the rest of the way home. The only other pushing I had to do from there on in was just up the driveway. So anyway, I have to take the time and cover off the bike again, have a look at that oil pump, find out what's going on. It might even be an inverted seal on the crank, because I've seen that happen before. But anyway, you don't want to drive a bike with an oil light on it, because you know you have no oil pressure, so it's not going to last too long like that. So good news is it should be pretty easy to fix. So anyway, there's no leaks around the top end. It's all nice and dry looking now that I've come back, so I'm pretty happy about that. But anyway, I have to fix that oil pump. So anyway, that'll be for another video. Okay, what did I find under the timing cover? Well, seriously, not much of anything. I didn't find anything in here as far as dirt and that sort of thing goes. But the oil pump, the check valve on the supply side did have something under the seat, so the valve wasn't, the little check valve wasn't holding, so that's why I lost oil pressure. The crankcase seal is fine. It didn't, in a way, I was kind of hoping it might have turned inside out, and that way I would have known that my problem was there and not the oil pump. But anyway, I cleaned the oil pump all out. I, cleaned up the seats and the balls, put everything all back together. The oil pump's working fine now. It makes that little sort of farting sound when you bring the plungers up and down, so I know that the check valves are seating in it. I took the suction drain out of the crankcase again. There's nothing in that, so I knew the crankcase was clean. However, I thought it would be a real good idea to drain that oil tank, which is the frame on this bike. When I did that, I noticed that in the pan there seemed to be quite a little bit of very fine metal particulate in it, and I thought, okay, I think I better take that filter screen out. So the filter screen came out. That's the first time that's been apart since the bike was built. I don't think Dave ever took that out. So he did change the oil quite often, but I don't think he ever changed the filter. So you're looking at a lot of little fine particles from breaking the bike in, and camera probably makes it look worse than it is. Anyway, I thought I'd better take that out, and I got to thinking, you know what, this thing, it's got a lot of stuff floating around in the oil. Having an oil filter on this to filter the oil before it got back to the tank would prevent any of that fine particulate from getting through and getting under those check balls in that oil pump in the first place. So I am waiting now for a filter kit to come. It happens to be a Norton filter kit, but I can fit it on this bike. I may fit it right underneath of the air cleaner, because there's plenty of room in there. We'll see when I get it. I'll decide just exactly where I want to fit it to. I can also fit it underneath the bike, but I like to make things easy to get at. That way the oil will be filtered before it goes back to the kit. Or back to the oil tank. Again, I don't work from a script. So for now, I'm just going to put this on hold, and I'll do up this video. Thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed it. There will be another video coming out after I get that oil filter on there and get the bike back together.